a lot of sales calls run way longer than they need to because people like to pound their chest and show them everything that they have to offer when it's not necessary to actually close deals effectively. What's up, Sales Ascender? I hope you're having an awesome day today. Sean here with another high ticket tune-up. I got a killer question in from my boy, Fonzie. Fonzie says this, he says, Sean, what should you show in your sales call? How far should you go behind the scenes? And I think this is a wonderful question, and I get it a lot because people are like, hey, I know that when I do a sales call, Sean, I have to show them everything that I have. And unfortunately, that's not the right answer. So if you're doing that right now, please stop doing that and very closely listen to what I'm about to say. Stick with me all the way to the end because this one is going to be super valuable. We first took on a new high ticket client probably about 2 years ago. I don't quite remember how long ago it was. They're in the SEO space. First thing we always do is review at least one of their sales calls, whether it be the entrepreneur or the sales team. And this particular group had a sales team. So one of the sales calls I got, and I remember I remember listening to this call. They do a bunch of SEO services. It'll just give like full spectrum of what they actually do, because this will give you some premise of how this is going to how this makes sense for you. Is they sell SEO services, which is retainer, right? So it's like every month you go to them and you invest with them, and then they do all the SEO work for your company, meaning like they rank your websites, they get you on Google Maps and do that kind of thing. Second thing they do is pay per click services. So they actually have advertising services that they offer. And then the third thing that they do is reputation management. So say, for example, you got bashed down from all the haters that are out there, and they'll go in and they actually have like a team that will write articles. It's really great service that they offer. So there's like kind of the three core things that they do. Again, so let me just repeat. So they do SEO services, they do reputation management, and they do PPC advertising. And so I was listening to the sales call, and I remember just sitting there, and I started to cringe, right? So at the time, they were having these extraordinarily long sales calls, like an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes, even 2 hours long. And I don't believe any sales call should ever go longer than about 45, maybe 55 minutes. That's where I tried it, like full blown, right? So, and so they were doing these things that were like double the length. And I remember listening to this call, and the first like 15 minutes, oh man, it was just the order of what they were doing was just completely backwards. So the first 15 minutes, they would do a little bit of bonding and connecting. They didn't really have like a good strategy for that. And then the sales pro would say, well, hey, let me get into what we do. And so he would literally screen share, right? And he'd take people behind the scenes into the course. And this is before even asking any questions. So it's kind of like backwards, right? And he would start asking, he would say, okay, well, hey, this is our company. This is our reputation. This is how badass we are, but like pounding the chest, right? And then he would start going through, the first thing we do is SEO services. This is how we do it. And he would just like fully blow out details. And then he would go into the PPC thing, and he'd fully blow out the details. And literally it was just on and on and on and on. And then it would get into like the reputation management. And then after he did the presentation, then he would come back and say, hey, well, tell me about your business. Let's do your turn. And it was like almost a show and tell. And I listened to a bunch of these sales calls, and the ones that went okay took way too long, hour and a half, 2 hours. And these clients would come back and they would say, well, like I'm doing this, this is my business, this is how this works. And then at the end, there would be this like, well, do you think we can help you? It was weird, like just kind of an awkward interaction. And a lot of the times, and the other ones that I listened to, as soon as the sales pro had finished kind of sharing that piece for them, they would say, oh, not interested, and they would leave, right? And unfortunately, this is something that we call the prospects sales system, where they basically will lie to you, say, hey, I'm interested, tell me your stuff. They will steal your information, and then they'll lie to you saying, no, I'm good. And then they'll hide. And then you get stuck in voicemail jail. So if you've ever been stuck in voicemail jail, or you've been stuck in that place where you like thought something was going to go great, and then you just get stumped of why somebody doesn't take action, it's probably because you have some sort of a formula like this that's going on. And it's okay, right? A majority of people that get into sales, you follow the prospect system because they don't understand that they need a selling system. They don't understand they need a prospecting system or any of this stuff. So, and it's okay. Like I said, so we started working with these guys, and here's where we got to, right? So the answer is, what should you show in your sales call? How far behind the scenes should you go? And the answer is, you listen to what your client has problems with first, and then you customize what you deliver to their pain points. That's the big secret, right? So if you want the formula, that's it. And so in the sales call, right, and this is going to be valuable for a lot of people listening out there. By the way, smash that like button if this is valuable for you, because I know it is. It totally helped me when I first started, and it's helped a lot of our clients too. But the thing is we said, okay, listen, get into the conversation. Before you even bring up anything about your company, let's start about them, right? Because when you look at neuroscience of sales, neuroscience of marketing, the most important thing that we can do in the first like 3 minutes is make it about them. So we need to make it personal, and we need to make it kind of visual. Visual meaning like we have to have some stuff around here. You can see the reason that I have this behind my head is because it's a visual cue to say, oh man, like success, right? Like it says that without saying that. And it's very visual, and it's usually very personal. The personal part of it gets into, hey, tell me more a little about your business. And then we get to that place, right? And we start talking about them, and we figure out, hey, what is the one thing that you're struggling with in your world? And we ask that question, and we dive in and we dig deep, and guess what's going to happen? Now, in this case, these people were selling SEO services, and they would say something like, oh, well, you know, like I can't rank on Google, or my map score sucks, or this or that, and the next thing. And this one particular call that I can never forget, I was listening to it, and literally so we worked with him, we switched it around a little bit, and he started doing this first. So he went back to the client and started speaking with them first and asking what their issues were, what the problems were that they were trying to solve. And so we got that part good. And then the next part was, he said, okay, let me show you what we do. And so then he went back into his screen share, and the prospect was like, oh, good. Like now he knows what my problems are. At least that's what he was thinking. Like now I know what my problems are. Let's see what he's going to do. And literally the whole conversation was about SEO services. It never touched PPC, and it never talked about reputation management whatsoever. And so the sales pro opens up a screen, starts sharing this stuff, and he says, well, yeah, here's our company. This is how badass we are. And by the way, this is, SEO services. We do all that stuff. Like we rank, we do this. And he never addressed like, hey, you mentioned this was your pain point. This is the one thing about SEO that will actually solve that. Instead, he said, no, we do SEO services, but let me tell you about our PPC services. Let me tell you about our reputation management services. And he went on this tangent about things that weren't even important to the prospect. Well, if you're the prospect and you're listening to this, what are you going to do? You're going to be like, oh my God, like he's not even listening to me. And then as a prospect, you just get bent up, anger, frustration. And you're like, I don't want to work with this guy because he's like not even listening to the problems and the questions that I have. And that happens so often. And if you catch yourself in present mode, and it's a show and tell thing, it's like a lot of sales calls run way longer than they need to because people like to pound their chest and show them everything that they have to offer when it's not necessary to actually close deals effectively. What makes sense to close deals effectively is to listen to the pain point that your prospect has. Think about what is all the stuff you have. Because look, you know what you offer. You know what you can serve people with. They don't know what you have and how you can serve people, right? Your job as a sales professional is to actually ask questions on maybe they have a problem that you actually solve. And if they do, dig into it, figure out how it personally impacts them. And then once you understand the personal impact, say, hang on a second, let me show you something. Pop open a screen. See, the best way to do this is if you're in the sales call and you go through and you get a couple of pain points and all of a sudden you're like, hang on, let me just show you something real quick. And you open the screen and you're into show and tell. And maybe the first couple of slides in your slide deck are how badass your company is. Just skip through those really fast and be like, we're really good. Like you can see some of these clients, but let's just move on right to this part. Because you just mentioned this one problem and I want to show you this one part in our course, in our service, in whatever it is that you're showing behind the scenes of how to solve that, just that one little problem that your prospect has. And then you shut the screen share down and then we say, hey, look, does that make sense? Would that fix that problem? And when they say yes, then you say, great. Is this something that you think you can do? Go for a trial close, see if it works. Because if you've done it right and you've had a great conversation and you get there and instead of going through this rigmarole of how badass your company is, yes, you need credibility. It's totally true and valid. But it doesn't need to be that part of the sales call. What it needs to be is, here's the pain that you just mentioned to me, Mr. Prospect, Mrs. Prospect, and here's the solution I have over here that I know in my arsenal of everything that I can do for a client. I just want to show you this one little sliver that'll fix that problem. Because what happens is now it's personal. Now it's tangible and memorable, and that person says, oh my God, this sales pro listened to me. This sales pro is actively showing me where in their program I can actually get solved. And in this case, it was actually a course. So he'd open the course and there's a 3-part course and he went right into, if I was doing that call, I would have gone right to part 2, which is the SEO services. And I would have just pulled out that one piece and said, here, this little thing would solve that issue, wouldn't it? Yes. Okay, you get the yes. You say, great. What are the other things that you're challenged with right now? Because we do so much other stuff. And now what you've done is you just shared with them that you're truly an expert in the space. And next thing you know, that person's going to be like, dang, this person listened to me. He showed me exactly how to solve the problem with his particular program, product, service, whatever it is. And literally he stopped talking about himself and listened to that person, right? This is how you get somebody emotional and keep them there, is you focus on being personal and being visual by showing just a little sliver of the one thing that will fix the one pain point that you're talking about. So Fonzie, what should you show in your sales call? How far should you go behind the scenes? Only as far enough as you need to go in order to show them that you have truly mastered the one problem that you're discussing, or the 2 problems that you discuss in a sales call. Typically, I like to look for 3 different things that I can help a client with, because if I can find 3 things, I know they probably have tried a lot of different things to solve those on their own, and they haven't come up with a great solution for themselves. And I ask, like, hey, what have you tried? How did that work? How much does this stuff cost you? Literally now I'm into an impact level, and I say, man, how do you feel about that? Like, that sucks. You spent all this money, and like, how do you feel about that? And they're gonna be like, no, this really sucks, and I want to fix it. And they get angry or they get emotional about it. And guess what? Now you got them emotional. Hang right there for a second. Let me show you this one little part of our program. Wham! You jump in, you show them that one little piece of your program. That's how you solve that one problem. And let me come back to you now, Mrs. Prospect. Like, is that something you think you can do? Yeah, I could do that. Cool. Should we move forward? Yes. Perfect. Close deal. And that can happen in 45 minutes instead of pushing a meeting out for an hour and a half, 2 hours, or whatever it's going to take. And that, my friends, is today's high ticket tune-up. I hope that helped you, because this is a big one. I see this a lot when we work with all kinds of different service agencies, business owners and entrepreneurs, and even sales professionals come to me saying, hey, Sean, I have all this great stuff. What should I show somebody in the sales call? And that, my friends, is the answer for today. I hope you've had a wonderful day. I hope this valued you for you. And if this is valuable for somebody else, please smash that like button, share it to someone else. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notifications bell.